This is the Rat Alert. Civil defense information will be broadcast at 6:40.
West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Y2K, how can we prepare?
Stop a few of their machines and radios. Throw them into darkness for a few hours.
We are fighting for our lives. My family must survive.
Over 5 years, 1,000 gallons of gas, air filtration, water filtration.
Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada. Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, and Odyssey. Welcome back to the workshop where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim. Today is May the 13th, 2023. This is episode 307 of Workshop Radio. So how is everyone out there this evening? I hope you're enjoying the beautiful weather. I will bet there'll be people who will be busy getting shit done tonight and will listen to this on the fly or on the recording afterwards in the podcast. But I had a rather productive day. We'll get into it in a little bit. But first off, let's get the regular old announcements out of the way. Number one, if you happen to, hey, Tori W., good to have you. I know Tori's going to be there, but if you have the time and you're in the area, in the Addy, Washington area, I took a look. Addy's about an hour north of Spokane. So if you're interested, the Thrivalist Fair at thrivalists.org, May 29th, 28th, and 29th. I'm going to be there. I believe I'm speaking 4 times over 2 days, so it should be a good time. Hey, Chris Dixon, good to see you, brother. I'm looking forward to it. Sunday evening, the 28th, we're going to have a workshop get-together, and it is, I believe it's $50 for the entire weekend for a whole family. There's camping on site, but it's going to be great. Paul Wheaton's going to be there and a ton of other incredible speakers. I'm stoked. I cannot wait. It's fun going somewhere new, spreading the gospel of the workshop to kind of a new community, and it was really neat, and it was quite an honor to be reached out and asked to come and speak there this year. So, all right, number 2, the workshop silver, the one and only workshop silver coins for 2023. Now, I think we're going to do another run of, we're going to maybe call it apocalypse currency. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be. A little later on down the road this year, probably close to Self-Reliance Festival time. Chuck Peoples, great to have you. But if you're interested in getting an ounce and a half an ounce, they'll come with certificates of authenticity. They'll come vacuum sealed in their own little packages. They're going to be $100 this time. Half them are spoken for. I've got 20 sets coming. So you'll get they're the inverse of last time. They're going to be a little shinier. My silver guy, Brian and I's silver guy, is just absolutely incredible. He has refined his process and he's gotten way busier, which is great. Oh, Chuck, I will add you to the list, brother. We're going to be quickly sold out. I'm quite excited. I got a test photo the other day of the very first run that he ran. Really great. They're going to look awesome. I can't wait. I always hold a couple back for me, but yeah, we only got, I believe it's 20 sets coming this time. So the great thing about silver is, I mean, it's a hedge against inflation. It kind of matches, and we all figure inflation is going to keep going up. So, you know, the value of silver, it always holds itself there. So I look at silver and gold as a decent little investment, and it's a great way to support the workshop. So if you want some, let me know, guys. Just you can send me a message anywhere. Let me know, and I will set aside for you as soon as we get them, which is looking like, I'm guessing, probably the 1st of June at this point. And finally, I haven't plugged our incredible Telegram group for at least 3 days, so I'm due to do that now. But seriously, guys, it seems like almost every episode of Workshop Radio, we get another member who's been listening to the podcast who finally took the jump and came across and joined us at the Workshop Telegram group. I love it. And it's cool because it's grown. You know, we have the workshop group, the main one. We've got right now 212 members in there. Just took a look, and I love it. I posted earlier today, what is the thing you got done this week? And some ton of really good shit got done for everybody trying to build their life the way they want to live. And then the book club, which was just kind of grew out of a conversation that Nate from Two Chicks Homestead and I had a little over a year ago. And now we have the ham radio group, which sprung up completely on its own without any guidance from the tool man, which is great. That's anarchy at its best. I love it. So anyway, we got 3 groups over there, but the main one is where we give each other a kick to the ass. But come by and join it. Links in the description below. I don't know what else I can tell you to convince you to come over. If you're saying, I don't know, I don't need another platform, I understand, but I'm telling you, it is the place to be. It's where all the delinquents hang out and where all the cool kids hang out. So come on by and join us. All right, guys, so we're back at our regular scheduled programming. I love Saturday evening episodes because they tend to be just a little more laid back. So I decided to go back to our kind of standard Saturday night format. We'll do This Week in the Workshop or the weekly workshop, whatever we want to call it or talk about. I'm going to kind of fill you in on some things I'm doing, hopefully inspire you to do some cool things as well. You know, just share. It's going to be fun. And then everybody loves the I read it on the internet. Thank you, Brian Alexovich, for that name. We got a couple of kind of the best posts I've seen this month on Reddit from the Our Preppers subreddit. And then I got 2 cool articles on Stranger Than Fiction. One involves a wildfire. The other one involves a slingshot. So we'll get to that in a little bit. I'm looking forward to it. And I hope everybody's had a great week so far. Next, time for a sip of the old-fashioned. And what is this tonight? Oh, glorious. Eagle Rare tonight. I know, mixing beautiful Eagle Rare into an old-fashioned, but it's so good. Chris Dixon says, smash that like button for the Workshop Radio. Hell yeah. Get out there, share it on social too, guys. Say, hey, that crazy Canuck is live tonight, and here we go. So, how's this week been? Well, this week in the workshop has been rather interesting. It started out, I guess it was Monday. Yeah, I get down Sunday or Monday, went and did an incredible, I guess incredible maybe isn't the right word, but I went down and secured a bank property. So a couple things about that. First off, I just dropped one bank maintenance property company recently. They've been giving me all kinds of grief, losing emails that I send to them, not sending payments out when they should. And the time invested in it wasn't worth the meager returns in income from them. So I dropped them. And as you guys know, this has been kind of hard because you've seen the evolution of All Seasons Maintenance, which started as a handyman business when it has gone into property management. And it's hard to give up some things that you've had along the way. So this one's been gone. I'm probably going to end up dropping all of the bank work eventually, which kind of sucks because I get some really good stories out of it, but I have to focus on the things that are making us the most money for the least amount of work so that we can invest in some of our other opportunities, right? So anyway, I went down, checked out this property. I checked on it a month ago. It appeared, hey, Byron Roberts, good to have you, brother. It appeared to still be occupied. So basically I go up, knock on the door, put the note in the door, peek in the window, whatever I can see from, the public area. And I mean, the dishwasher was there. It was open. There was dishes in it. There was still furniture in the living room. The out back was a mess, but so I couldn't secure the property because it appeared to be lived in. Anyway, so I go back a month later and nothing has changed. Nobody's been there, came or went. So I drilled out the door and actually, no, I was lucky. The back door, guys, was unlocked. So I didn't have to drill it out, which was kind of a nice help. But the house was a mess. The basement is just full of garbage. But if you saw on Telegram there, I had, there was one bedroom that was absolutely demolished. Somebody put holes in every piece of drywall. It is going to be a massive cleanup, a massive mess to clean up down there. It'll pay well, but it's going to be a lot of work. The backyard is just full of garbage everywhere, broken windows in the house. I always try to treat every property with respect because you never know the stories of the people that are leaving houses that they've, walked away from because of personal issues. And it's really interesting. Like I remember one time a trailer we went and secured. And you can tell the people, they vacuumed. The house was absolutely spotless. Keys were sitting on the counter, everything. They just had to walk away for whatever reasons. And then you have houses like this that are absolutely dilapidated when they walk away. And you just don't know, right? It's a shame. It breaks your heart. It makes for some interesting stories in the end. You find out some cool things. You get to fix up some houses, clean up some houses, and then get them back on the market. And hopefully somebody buys them and they get to live their life in them, right? Next, I want to shout out to my brother Jaggy across the pond. He would be my grown-up pen pal. It's always great when I see one of those Scottish stamps on a letter when it shows up in the mail. So, Jaggy, love you, brother. Miss you. I hope you're doing well. And it's always good to hear from you. For what it's worth, guys, it's kind of neat. Jaggy and I will write each other 2 or 3 times a year through snail mail. And not that a person needs something else to do, but if you're ever thinking, man, I should write somebody for whatever reason, do it. It's fun, but don't do it because it's something to do, or don't put pressure on yourself. But even, once in a while, it's fun to do those kind of old fashioned analog type things. So, got a call from a good brother of mine today. Nothing more that I can really say about it other than they have a great opportunity and I'm really proud of them. So we'll share that. That's where it is. Hey, I got, if you guys saw on Instagram, Mel Tappan, he's one of the guys that I would consider one of the founding fathers of modern prepping. I got his book, Tappan on Survival. I've been reading a chapter each night before I go to bed. It's a good book. I may have to do an episode on that book when it's all said and done. Got the zero turn out. I realized I hadn't cleaned it off after the fall. The damn thing was covered in leaves. Give it a good blow. It had a little bit of, I did put some seafoam in it before I put it away, put some more in it now, and it's running like a dream. Finally got out to do some mowing, which was great. I know brothers and sisters down south all say the same thing. Well, we've been mowing for a while, but it's been nice. I've been getting some vitamin D. I've been really enjoying that. Question for you guys. Anybody else seeing ants absolutely everywhere this year? I have noticed, at least in our town, and I think it has to do with the weather, but a couple things. When I was in high school, I always used to notice, junior high and high school, every year there seemed to be one insect that was really thriving. And I'm sure it's kind of like, wildlife cycles where deer go. I think it's like a 7-year cycle where they tend to go up and they go down in their population, but insects seem to be that way. And this year it is ants. I actually just got a call from a lady on the second floor of an apartment I look after that had a few ants. So we got to get the Orkin man in to deal with them because, the rental that we bought, the trailer, you go over there, the front yard is absolutely covered in ants this year. I don't know if anybody has a good solution for ants. I'd love to hear about it, but they do seem to be yeah, Chris, I figured Chris Dixon would say that. He said, holy balls, the ants are out of control. They are everywhere. I don't know if I've ever seen them quite this, they're just everywhere. They're literally everywhere. And there was somebody on Reddit when I was prepping the show tonight that asked if they'd seen a lot of ticks in places. Now, us didn't seem to be any more than normal, but somebody had mentioned about it being hot and dry, and I think that might be what has got the ants going. But yeah, they're everywhere. I don't know what burn everything down. Let's get rid of them, right? Let's give you guys, since we're talking about the rental, and when I came home from Tennessee, I had basically 3 weeks minus a day to get about 8 weeks worth of work done. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I work really well when I have a deadline, because if I don't have a deadline, things get slid around. And I'm sure some of you guys are the same way. But I have to get the renovations done on that trailer before we leave to go to Washington, because it's rented. It's rented June 1st, and we are leaving here May 26th, Becky's birthday, and won't be back until June 1st. So the renos have to be done. So since I've gotten back, I have basically completed the bathroom reno. I just have 2 pieces of furniture or appliances to move back in there. But that has been hanging the drywall, mudding the drywall, priming and painting, putting up the tubs around, and putting the flooring in the bathroom. And then I set myself a goal of having all the renos done by tomorrow. I figured if I set it a week and I'm a week behind, I still have a week to go. So anyway, flooring today, I got 2/3 of the whole trailer floored in one day. I love that glue down vinyl plank, I guess it is. Really beautiful stuff. Also, I had Becky pick me up one of those, they look like a guillotine. You pull them down and they chop the floor. Well, this one said it was good for vinyl flooring, but it's going back to Home Depot because it's an absolute piece of shit. The thing mangles the vinyl flooring when it tries to cut it. So I'm just back to a really sharp utility knife and a carpenter square, and it's working good. So Anyway, I went and got myself some of those grease monkey gloves today because there's nothing I hate worse than having glue all over my hands and all over all my implements. But yeah, anyway, I got the back bedroom, the hallway, and the living room 100% floored today. So I'm pretty pleased. I'm going to get there. We'll definitely. It's glue down, Chris Dixon. So you buy this all-purpose vinyl flooring adhesive. I get them in gallon jugs. It's going to take about 5 gallons for the whole trailer. And I just kind of go along and I dump it out on the floor, and then use a 1/16 of an inch V-notch trowel, and you just go back and forth and spread it all out. And then you wait for about 15 to 20 minutes for it to start to dry, and it gets tacky. And the more it dries, the stickier it gets. So you've got kind of this sweet spot between 30 minutes and 120 minutes where it's really tacky, and you can put the flooring down. If you wait too long, it gets too dry. But oh man, is it nice! I'll have some pictures tonight when I'm sitting out on the deck with Becky after the show. But guys, I'm pretty proud of that, I gotta say. So if you ever think, can I do something? The answer is yes, you can. Because quite often, even now, I know I get down on myself once in a while. I'm like, man, that's a big job, or man, I've never done that before. So what? Fucking do it, guys. I mean, I know I brag about Becky all the time, but she's been my inspiration over the years. She always tells me, hey, just do it, hon. And yeah, you can. When you guys see the before and after pictures of this whole trailer, it's basically going to be renovated from top to bottom. And I'm pretty damn proud of it. So it's going to make a nice home for the family that's moving in there. Oh, right on, Chris Dixon. He said, I got a new bathroom reno job. Mine. Oh, good enough. You know what? It's nice to keep busy. I'm thinking vinyl plank. I love it. So we bought an entire lift of this flooring. It's the same stuff we have upstairs at the daycare. We bought it for about a third of the price from our local flooring guy. He had some on discontinued, and we ended up getting enough to do the entire upstairs of the daycare and this whole trailer. I just love it. It's heavy duty. I'll have to get the measurements, like the thickness for you, but yeah, I don't think you'll be disappointed. This is some of the nicest, quickest, easiest stuff I've ever worked with, and durable. You just have to be careful. Anyway, I'll go into some more detail on another show on some of the tips and tricks I've learned, but it's been good. Emptied out the laundry at the 12 unit the other day. And for those of you who don't know what a loonie is, that's a Canadian $1 coin. And since we couldn't come up with a better name, our $2 coin is called a toonie. Anyway, our laundry takes loonies here. I open it up, and there was about $150 in the laundry, and 15 of them were American $1 gold coins. Not gold, but gold plated or gold colored. And I hadn't seen those in years. They have a Native American lady on the front. And I remember in 1999 when I was in New York City, we bought the subway cards. They were pretty new. You bought them out of a vending machine, and they give you those $1 coins as change. So for those who don't know, apparently Americans do have $1 coins. So I saved them. I don't know what I'm going to do with them yet, but I set them aside. Yeah, if you guys didn't catch it, I put out a video this week on the Batterix power card. I love that thing. Do I have one here to show you? I do not. The video has been really well received, but the company reached out and gave me an affiliate code. So if you're ever thinking about picking them up, they're only $18, and they give Toolman Tim 10, so you get 10% off, which is friggin' awesome. And you can get 10% off for one or for their bulk packs all the way up to 10. But I really like the product, guys. I did a ton of testing on it, threw it in the freezer overnight, and still got a pretty good charge out of it. And they're just a neat product I hadn't seen before. Got some civil defense gear, guys. You know I'm a big fan of the old civil defense stuff, but this was a box. It has a Geiger counter and some of the pens. And oh yeah, Tori said the Tooth Fairy gave my kids the Sacagawea gold dollars. That's what they are, Sacagawea gold dollars. They're pretty cool. I really enjoyed them. I think they're neat. I love setting aside those. And Chuck says he has about 50 of those $1 coins. I don't know. I was talking to Becky about it the other night. Now, you guys know we have way more coin currency up here as opposed to you guys. Basically, you know, everything's paper bills and then some change afterwards. But there's benefits and drawbacks to both. You know, the coins last longer. They're heavier. They're harder. You know, you get a bunch of them in there, and they can really weigh down your pocket. But I don't know. It is what it is. Let's see. Had a great episode last night from with Aaron and my wife Becky. Aaron, if you're listening, you did an incredible job. We did the reverse interview because she was kind of nervous about doing an interview with somebody else. I said, well, why don't you interview me and Becky? And she kicked ass and took names. So watch for her interviews coming up. She'll be doing some with some people, I'm sure. What else we got? Shout out to my brother-in-law, guys. I didn't bring them down here to show you. He showed up at the trailer the other day when I was working and gave me a brand new pair of gloves. He went out and got a bunch of buffalo hide, beautifully tanned leather gloves. They smell good. They're comfortable. Anyway, he got a massive pair that they say Midnight Mechanical on them, and he gave them out to his best customers. And he dropped a pair off for me, and I love them. So Barrett, if you're listening to this, thank you, brother. I'll show you guys a picture of them later, but he had them made by the Hutterites, and they are just gorgeous. Tomorrow night, we got George Siegel coming on. He did the documentary Last House Standing. He is a former weatherman who now does emergency preparedness and documentary filmmaking. And I'm really excited about that, guys. Really excited. And then one thing I didn't mention before I got started. So I put my notes together. Then I share everything on social media. As I was sharing everything on social media tonight, my word processor crashed and I lost 100% of my show notes. It normally has an autosave, something frigged up in it. So guess who needs to start hitting the save button when he's typing his notes? So I was able to put them back together, but yeah, so much for a prepper, hey? All right, so from there, everybody loves I read it on the internet. And for those of you who don't know what Reddit is, Reddit. They used to call themselves the front page of the internet. I don't know how to explain it. It's a bit like a forum where people post things. There's almost zero self-promotion over there, so that's kind of nice. But it is, you just join these communities. They call them subreddits. And, you know, I'm in Our Homestead, and I'm in Buy It for Life, and I'm in Preppers. And someday, when the workshop gets big enough, we'll probably have our own subreddit over there. Kim and Colby from Casual Preppers have their own. And there's some really cool interaction on Reddit. So there's some, beyond that, I usually get some nuggets each month that I can share with you guys. And so doesn't mean you need to go over there and join Reddit, but there's always some good shit over there to share. So I grabbed, I think, 3 of my favorite posts this month. And all right. So this first one, I like to, Tori loves Reddit too. That's good to know. I mean, you can get lost in black holes over on Reddit. You can get yourself into some negativity. I try to stay out of the comments because quite often it's just negativity and fighting, but there is some good shit over there. And if you find the right communities to be involved in, I enjoy it. So this one was from a Kakura Keys. That's the username. And they said, what should I do to prepare for extreme heat? I have a relaxed budget. I'm thinking relaxed means not a whole lot of money to spend, but I'm not sure. Said, these are the things I thought of, is what this person said. A solar generator, in case the grid is overwhelmed by everyone turning on their AC. A portable outdoor evaporative cooler. Learn first aid for hyperthermia, if that's such a thing, they said. I'm not sure what that's called. If Chuck's still in here, he can tell us what too much exposure to sun is called. And an indoor air purifier. So, yeah. Tori W says, am I the asshole is always entertaining. I enjoy that. Okay, so this from this user, let's see if we can find the username here. Character Can. There's some fun names over there. They said the Southwest U.S. usually breaks 115, but the first thing is to figure out a way. The problem is AC. They said number one issue is make sure you have air conditioning if you can. Figure out a way to back it up. Figure out a way to run it off a generator, whatever you can. And then again, a lot of people say central air is great, which it is. But if you can't power central air with your generator, compartmentalize. So just cool one area. Have a window unit. Those window units use less power than you think they do. A 1500 watt generator will typically run 2 of them as long as you don't try to start both of them at the same time. So this person said, but if AC is not a reliable option, use shade, fans, and hydration. Block the windows with a solid fabric. early each day to help prevent the sun and heat from warming the interior too quickly. Shower in the middle of the day. Sure, yep. Eat and drink chilled foods and hydrate. And stay in during the day and only go out at night. There we go. Thanks, Chuck. I love having Chuck in here, the expert that I can always lean on. He says, yes, hypothermia is overheating depending on how overheated you are as to what stage. Just reverse of hypothermia, different stages. Oh, I think I've come close a few times where, when you've been in the sun too long and you get the chills, but never super serious. So the next one was Seb Wilms. I don't know who they are. They said, we're going to just skip over a little bit. They said many parts of the world, extreme heat is common to divide the day into morning and night with a lunch or siesta. Many stores and restaurants close for a few hours. Makes sense. Besides that, shade and hydration are key. On the note of hydration, even if you don't have AC, there should always be cool or cold running water. So if you feel yourself overheating, run a cool shower or bath. It will bring your core temperature down and buy you a few hours. Similarly, use refrigeration to cool or freeze damp towels and compress. Again, I love this. I remember when Diane was on the apartment prepper, she talked about how, it would, she lived up on, I don't know, it was the 4th or 5th floor in the apartment building, and her plan was to just have a small tent to heat in the wintertime. So again, Tori says, I have 3 window AC units as part of my prepper pantry. Exactly, that's the type of thing. So first off, central air. We all know that. Now, if that fails or you can't power it, a window unit for a bedroom. And then if that fails or you can't power something like that, cool the individual like this, cold towels from the freezer or cool running water, whatever you can do. Make yourself cooler any way you can. Chuck says, when you are thirsty, you're behind the curve for dehydration. Yes. Pay attention to your urine as well. Dark urine, I think, if I'm right, Chuck. If you're not peeing a lot and it's dark, you're probably dehydrated. So try to keep yourself as hydrated as possible. If you need to be outside, dress for it. If you can't be in the shade, bring the shade with you. I like this. A large sun hat, light flowy clothing. I picked up a Tilly style hat. It's green. It has the bill all the way around and the sides are ventilated, which I kind of like because this old bald head keeps getting burnt and I really don't want to deal with skin cancer later on. Setting up solar in the event of heat-related blackouts isn't a bad idea, but it'll be costly, and you mentioned you got a tight budget. If the risk is just short-term power outages, it'd be more cost-effective to get an inverter for your vehicle. With doors and windows and blind closed, you should only need to cool your home during the worst of the day anyways. And speaking of blinds, consider getting thermal curtains that if you have lots of windows. Absolutely. Chuck, this is good. Stock up on electrolytes for aid in hydration. Is there any you recommend, Chuck? I mean, I always just think of Gatorade. I don't know if they even still make powdered Gatorade, but when I was in high school, that was around everywhere. And Chris Dixon says, sombreros for everybody. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. So yeah, thermal curtains sound like a good idea. Okay, this next one was from Big Hug from a Stranger. Oh boy, I don't know who. Anyway, that's a fun one. Says, how much cash do you keep in your home or in your go bag? If not cash, do you carry some other form of currency? On a practical side, I keep most of my money in investments, blah, blah, blah. But I've wondered if I should keep cash on hand in case of emergencies or collapse. Curious what others are comfortable with. So, cash on hand, folks? Should everybody have cash on hand? What's the answer? Anybody out there? I know we've talked about this before, but if anybody wants to throw out kind of their walking around amount that they keep, I've been trying to shoot for around 300. I've been doing pretty good with that now, simply because of last summer being in Calgary and $100 don't go as far as it used to. So anyway, but that's kind of what I like. But so this Blacksmith Mall said, I keep a fair bit in cash, mostly for convenience. There's some thoughts here I hadn't thought of before, but they said the nearest cash machine is a good drive away. So I tend to make infrequent but larger withdrawals. Good to know. I mean, most of us know where the closest ATM is, but, having a plan, okay, well, you know what? That's going to be a lot further than I might think. So it would be really good to have some extra cash. The main reason is that a few local businesses have unreliable card readers. So often cash is simpler. I'm also still in the habit of paying with cash and old habits die hard. That makes sense. Now, when we were traveling I believe we were just in the edge of Montana, we stopped into a small town, and the place was a mess. I pulled in behind a guy, and I was waiting for him to pay for his gas. Turned out all of their machines were acting weird all the time. I don't know if it was an internet thing, it was a tech thing, or if it was just old shitty card readers. But having cash on hand is a hell of a good idea. Tori says she likes relight powder for electrolytes. And Chuck says liquid IV, squinchers, Pedialyte, and drip drops. I'm going to have to, all kinds of good things there. We're going to try to, let me see, we're going to snap a picture of that, guys, so we have it. I'll try to remember that as a tip. I'm going to collect all these tips. We'll make a show out of this at some point. Now, I thought this guy talking about how far away the ATM was some really good data, some good information. But then Effin Bob, EFFIN Bob, he said, in a collapse, money won't be any good. Not that, no, that doesn't mean precious metals will take the place of money, so don't go there. Luckily, that isn't likely to happen in your lifetime. I keep about $100 on me during a normal day. When I worked overseas, this was the part I thought was kind of neat. Thanks, Chuck. Chuck just sent a list. When I worked overseas, I kept enough for 2 plane tickets to get me home. I think that's a pretty cool idea. I like that part. Now, right, I mean, do we prep for collapses? Sure, if you want to. But I think the most practical thing is to prep for the thing that's most likely to happen. And that's for you to be out of town and somebody's debit machine not working, or you need to get some gas to get home or whatever. So yeah, having some cash on hand is going to protect you from a lot more likely scenarios than a collapse scenario, right? So there it is. Now, next, I want to share with you guys a conversation I had this week. So I was at a local supply store, kind of building supplies. It wasn't here in town, but close by. And there's a young guy that works there that I like to chat with. And I asked him, I said, oh, Renegade Butcher, good to have you. He says, good evening, Timmy and delinquents. So this young guy, he's in his early 20s. And I always, we chatted up, and sometimes he's, really happy. And then sometimes just whatever. And I said, how you doing? And, oh, not bad. And I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of, being me, I wanted to prod and pry a little bit to see what was going on. And he basically said to me, he goes, well, he said, it's not a bad day, but it's really hard for me to be excited about life or to want to come to work or do anything when the whole world looks like it's falling to pieces. It's going to hell. It's just a shitstorm. He's like, how does, he said, all these things are happening around the world. His big focus was on the Ukrainian-Russian conflict. And he was basically like, listen, the world's going to end, so why should I bother? And I thought, oh, you poor kid. Maybe he's 22 years old. And I thought it just broke my heart, guys. So I tried, I talked to him, and you guys have heard me talk about this before, but the first thing I told him, I said, listen, you got to know, I'm more than twice your age, and I've been told the world was going to end for about a dozen different issues since I was just a little kid. And that dread does you no good. And I wanted to get into this a little bit because, oh my God, it breaks my heart, these young Gen Zs or, really young, the last of the millennials that are they've been brought up on this fear, guys, that just drives me crazy. I do my best with my girls. They go to government school, so they know, but once in a while, Alice will come home and she'll be like, the teacher says that because of global warming or the climate catastrophe, or insert whatever scary adjectives they're using to talk about the weather right now. It's, yes, Renegade says we've all had a doomer phase. Yes, we have. And it seems to run in the younger crowd, and then you kind of grow out of it because you realize, well, shit, everybody's always dealt with something shitty at some point in their life. And so I tried to encourage him the best I could. I said, like, you got to know, bud. I said, when I went to college and I studied, religion and the Bible, I can't remember the exact passage, but basically, nobody ever is going to know when the world's going to end, but everybody has always been predicting it since at least whenever humans could write things down. We know that someone somewhere has been predicting the end of the world. And guess what? It hasn't happened yet. So just because you think it's going to happen in your own lifetime doesn't do you any good. So worrying about the things you can't control, and I'm not telling somebody, it's like saying, hey, don't be anxious or don't worry. Well, that doesn't work. But what I wanted him to see, I just wanted him to know, like, we've all dealt with it, and trying not to worry about the things you can't control will do you great, will serve you really well. But here's the other thing, and like he said, he was really finding it really hard to get motivated to go to work or to do anything because he just felt like the world was going to end or whatever. And I told him, I said, here's the deal. You can't control what's going to happen or what may or may not happen. You don't know what may or may not happen, but what you can control is your life. And what you can do is find yourself a purpose, and you can go balls to the wall with whatever that purpose is. You can go balls to the wall to build the life you want to live. You can build a business. You can make money. You can set yourself up to be healthy. Whatever it happens to be, you can do all those things because that's what humanity was built for. We were built to do great things and to look after ourselves and the people we care about. And here's the cool thing. All that shit that being productive and going to work and building something great, all of that will only put you in a better situation if something shitty ever really does happen. Because if you've got nothing and the world ends, you probably got nothing to work yourself out of a situation. But if you've built self-reliance in your life, you've built a business, you've built wealth, you've looked after your family, looked after yourself, if something shitty really did happen, then you're in a way better mindset and way better position in life to deal with something like that. And it broke my heart, guys. And I just want to make it my mission to beat the hell out of that dread that all these kids are getting. And hopefully we can. I don't know. I don't know how many times I can say it breaks my heart, but I fucking hate it. I hate the fact that they're just absolutely indoctrinating all of our kids in this constant fear to the point where, yeah, no wonder they don't want to do anything because they've been told their entire scholastic life that, guess what? The world's going to end in a fiery flame and a fiery mess, and it does you no good. I've told this story before, but it reminds me of when I was, I remember maybe 9 or 10 years old, and I grew up in an evangelical home, and our church was a gloom and doom church for a long time that always said that Jesus' return was right around the corner. And I don't know if you guys know, like there's this whole pre-trib and post-tribulation thing to deal with the concept of the rapture. So anyway, where I grew up, I was basically taught that all Christians were going to disappear. And I was absolutely scared shitless of it as a kid. And so I would sit around, and if mom didn't come home like 10 minutes, within 10 minutes of when she was supposed to be, I figured she must have disappeared and I got left behind and I was going to have to deal with the tribulation. That was the kind of shit that I had. Anyway, so I bring that up to say I had my issues when I was a kid. I had my fears about the end of the world. And no matter what, it seems to be a cycle that kids go through, but we're not doing them any good service by constantly harping and talking about this shit. Chris Dixon says, if you have kids, ask them how they feel and then bring them past that fear. Yes. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be anxious. I've always said that, and I've always told my kids that. Like, that's part of life. I've dealt with anxiety my entire life, and it creeps its old head up. It's kind of like the poverty mindset. It creeps back in once in a while, and you go over there and you get it to open its friggin' mouth on the curb on the side of the road, and you friggin' curb stomp it on the back of the head, and for some reason you might have knocked all its teeth out, but you didn't kill it. And but the older you get, the longer you live your life, the more you realize, holy shit, you know what? I can do this. And that's what I want the young people to know. And I know there's probably not a lot of 20-year-olds listening to this show, but the ones of you that are out there, well, Clark, I love Clark anyway. He's such a great example of what you can do at a young age. But if you're out there listening, or if you have young people and you think, oh, man, it's not worth it because Al Gore tells me that the world only has 8 years to live, and that was 15 years ago. Yeah, Renegade, that's the other thing I wanted to touch on. Renegade says prepping does not have to be depressing. You are right. That was in my notes that I lost before I put the show together, right? And I think that prepping actually helps with depression or with being anxious, because it helps you take control of the things you can take care of. It helps you focus on the things that are most likely to happen and to be able to mitigate any risk that you can. I think it helps you, grab life by the balls and run with it. It really does. And it gives you a purpose in life. It helps you want to take care of everybody that you love. And I think that's a big part of it. And I don't know, when you come to it, that's like, for me, it was like my mid-20s when I really came into prepping. And it really does help with a lot of that. For me, it was a way to cope with all that fear. Tori says she's been anxious about death since she was 8 and it hasn't gone away. And yeah, I won't, I agree with you, Tori. I've been anxious about death my whole life. And, at this point, it's because, there's so many great things you want to do. And, but then I saw my grandmother who passed away at 100. And the last time I talked to her, she was like, I've outlived my life by 10 or 15 years. I should have been gone a long time ago. And, so, I don't want to say I hope I get to that point eventually, but there's so much great things to happen in life. And I don't know. All I can say is when I was religious, I still had that anxiousness about death. And I think I have less of it now than before. And I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that, like I said, prepping definitely helps a person take control of their life and kind of overcome some of that. Chuck says prepping is your responsibility. Why wouldn't you? You're an adult. Take responsibility. Right. It's true. And it was just called, being prudent and living life the way it is. And Tori, I love hearing that. I prep for the next generation. That's like, I read a story or an article recently. It was about a couple different things, about the pyramids. And it was about medieval castles and people who would start building those castles would be dead long before they were ever built. So they were just building something that the next generation could keep building on. And that's the way prepping is. And you know what? When I first started digging into the history of prepping, I had a couple of days where I was like, is it worth it? Why am I prepping? Because all these people who came before me prepped for the same shit and they never saw it in their lifetime. And then I realized these people were taking control of their life as well. They were dealing with the biggest fears and the most common things that could happen to them. And they helped inform everything that we're doing now. And all it did was really encourage me to say, oh, you know what? I am doing the right thing. I did. I had a couple of days where I was like, well, it almost felt like these people coming before me were beating their head on a wall too, but they weren't. They were dealing with life and they were hopefully prepping for the next generation, just like Tori said. And I love it. And I see Dog Creek Farm. Great to have you on here. Always appreciate it. And what else? Renegade says, I can't control when death comes. I just want the time I'm here to not suck, whether it's one more day or 70 more years. And that's why we build the life we want to live so that we can enjoy it until the last day. Life is short. Enjoy it and build something great so that it's there for when you're gone. Chris Dixon says you plant a tree for the shade or fruit that you may never enjoy. Exactly. It is what it is. I agree. This is one of my passions that I think that prepping helps. And maybe if the younger generation saw that, it might allow them to take a little bit more control or at least feel a little bit more in control of their life. Because, I talk about it before that, fear's a great short-term motivator, like Y2K. And then Y2K didn't happen. And a lot of people are like, well, shit, you know what? I guess I'm not going to prep anymore. But having a purpose, looking after you and your family and taking control of your life, that's where prepping really shines. I didn't necessarily know we were going to go that far down the rabbit hole, but it's true. And I just want the young folks out there who are listening to know that, because life is absolutely awesome. And it only gets, well, for the most part, it only gets better as you get older, man, because you hit this sweet spot where you're like, man, I know all the shit I should have known in high school and I know what to do now. Yeah, my body's getting a little older and it hurts sometimes, but I don't know. I just have a purpose and a drive and a motivation to just get shit done every single day. And I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. So with that, let's dive in. What are we going to do next, guys? We're going to do a couple of Stranger Than Fiction installations here. Somebody just dropped something upstairs. This one's really cool. And it showed up in a couple of my news feeds this morning. Chris Dixon says the rabbit hole that is the workshop group. Amen, brother. It is. We just, I say sometimes I don't want to feel like I'm ever preaching to the choir, but I think what I'm doing is I'm inspiring, or I'm hoping to share what I know and what I've learned and inspire everybody else to get the hell out and share it with other people too. Because we just want to build our lives, right? All right, so did you guys hear about this? This article comes from mlive.com, michiganlive.com, but it's been all over the news this morning. 8-year-old escapes abduction attempt in northern Michigan because, you ready for this? I don't know if anybody heard about it. We'll call him Dennis the Menace, because brother hit suspect in head with a slingshot. Now, this sounds like a pretty friggin' incredible family, guys. You got to hear about this. So, 17-year-old suspect has been charged in connection with the attempted kidnapping of an 8-year-old girl. First off, 17 years old, you're a grown-ass man. I mean, you know, by the legal definition, you might not be, but you're old enough to know that you don't go and grab a friggin' 8-year-old girl while she's playing in the backyard. Michigan State Police say the suspect was arrested Wednesday shortly after he tried to abduct the victim. According to a news release, check this out, guys. This made me smile. The 8-year-old girl was out hunting for mushrooms in her backyard. So how many 8-year-old girls, my girls at 13, okay, no, let me slide back. My old ass at 42 wouldn't know what mushrooms to go hunting for. And this kid knew what mushrooms. Anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. And yeah, Tory said attempted only because he got stopped, not because he changed his mind. Absolutely. And so this girl, she must be fairly, I assume they must be a woodsy family because the 8-year-old's out hunting for mushrooms. I thought that was pretty cool. So the girl was hunting for mushrooms in her backyard when an unknown male appeared from the woods, grabbing the girl, covering her mouth. The victim was able to break away from the suspect as her 13-year-old brother witnessed the attempted abduction and shot the suspect in the head and the chest with a slingshot before the suspect fled the scene. 13-year-old boy had the presence of mind to not only grab his slingshot, to load it up, but to then make a headshot and a chest shot with a slingshot. Can you imagine? Oh my God. I just wish, I almost wish there was security camera footage for this, because that boy needs a medal. And what a family. Another family member saw the suspect fleeing from the scene, and a description was provided to the police, who began looking for him. The suspect was eventually found hiding at a nearby gas station. The suspect had visible wounds from the slingshot and was taken into custody by police. Yeah, no shit he did. He got hit in the friggin' head with a slingshot. I don't know if the kid if it was like ball bearings he shot him with, or if it was rocks, but whatever it was, I mean, that's like David and Goliath, man. Renegade Butcher said the idiot fucked with the wrong family. You're friggin' right, he did. During an interview with the detectives, police alleged the suspect admitted that he planned on severely beating the girl. I don't understand. I don't know if there was more to this story, but why what sick son of a bitch decides they want to go and abduct an 8-year-old girl and beat her severely? I don't get it. Anyway, the suspect was lodged at the Alpena County Jail and was arraigned Thursday on one count of attempted kidnapping, one count of attempted assault to do great bodily harm less than murder, and one count of assault and battery. Now, this is the best part here. Despite being a juvenile, the suspect is being charged as an adult. His identity has not been released publicly, and his bond is set at $150,000. He's due back in court on May 17th. So, the kid, the brother, 13 years old, and no, K-Bonk says, is the kid getting charged for a slingshot? No, thank goodness not. This was in Michigan, too. So, that's what I was wondering. Renegade says, sounds like he had a beef with the girl. So what 17-year-old young, I don't, you want to call him, should we call him a young man? Anyway, what 17-year-old male has a beef with an 8-year-old girl to the point where he decides he wants to drag her off in the woods and beat her severely? This guy deserves to be drug off in the woods. And anyway, he's going to have to live with scars on his forehead for the rest of his life because some 13-year-old boy shot him in the head with a slingshot. So I got to say, I guess slingshots might be a slightly effective post-apocalyptic defense device, but what a cool family. I'd love to know more about this story, and hopefully something more will come up from it, because I don't know, between the 8-year-old girl hunting for mushrooms and the 13-year-old carrying a slingshot, and not just carrying it, but knowing how to use it. Anyway, that's pretty cool. Tori says, would be cool if the girl had some uncles who could give the kid what he planned for the girl. Yep, I agree, Tori, 100%. So that was a fun one. I mean, thank God the girl wasn't hurt. I don't know what I would have done if that was my daughter, but that guy's going to have a mark on his forehead for a long time. So the second story, this one comes from the Calgary Herald, and you guys know that we have been in wildfire territory up here for the last little while. So this one, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. If anybody knows the story behind this story, I'm not going to share it until the end, but if you do, feel free to share a little bit as we go along. But Renegade Butcher says, have you heard of the story of David and goddamn idiots? No, but this is a good story. So this one here, Calgary Herald. How a fire went from a prescribed burn to out of control in an instant near Banff. If you don't know what Banff is, it's a national park. It's a beautiful kind of in the Rocky Mountains town. It's all 100%. It's a tourist area, but it's beautiful, right? So some residents were evacuated and horses had to be quickly relocated as winds changed direction and pushed the fire out of control. So first off, anybody who's been within 100 miles of Alberta recently knows that conditions have been tinder dry. And in the spring here, before everything greens up, that is absolutely, that is one of the things that we all, this is the time when the fire can absolutely be the worst, because you've got all that dry, old dead grass and foliage from last fall that hasn't greened up yet or hasn't been choked out with greenery. So anyway, they planned a prescribed burn, even though, I mean, I get it. The idea was to try to protect or to get rid of some of the stuff that was in there. But, oh, man. Anyway, so windier than anticipated conditions are to blame for the prescribed burn near Banff. It caused dense smoke across the Trans-Canada Highway, which is the equivalent of our interstate system here. Fire crews began work on a planned burn north of the Banff town site between Banff Avenue and Highway 1 on Wednesday, as temperatures soared to the mid-20s, which is like 70. So it was hot, it was dry. In other words, they were Wednesday afternoon planning on burning stuff. Anyway, it seems a little foolish. However, as the firefighters were backlining, that's where they pre-burn grasses and other potential fuels in the controlled burn area, a sudden wind shift caused the blaze to jump to the east side of Banff Avenue. So basically right in the town, where it grew about 3 acres beyond the 3-acre control area. So as the story progresses, you find out that there was some people's property that was ruined because of this prescribed burn. Luckily, nobody was hurt or any animals, but again, it just seemed, they said they waited for the weather to be right, and then the wind shifted. The wind was not forecasted yesterday, nor was the change in wind direction for us. We were prepared for unexpected changes. It was a little faster than anticipated, but we have to conduct our prescribed burns when the conditions are ready to meet our objectives, as well as protect the community. No shit, right? So the the Banff Rocky Mountain Resort were all ordered. So the Rocky Mountain Resort, a barbecue place, cemetery, anyway, all these places ended up needing to be evacuated. The horses from the Trail Rider stable were relocated into the town. The town of Banff said a handful of outbuildings on the Horses Association land were damaged, but Banff firefighters don't believe there's any further risk. There is no immediate threat to the town of Banff and no requirements for people to prepare to evacuate. Now, people kept driving out to see these fires, which were dangerous enough, but, so let's keep diving into this story because it's kind of interesting. Wildlife expert says that window for prescribed burns is narrowing. Expert says. I love those headlines. Expert says. Hindsight is 20/20, but it seems the window to do prescribed burns is getting smaller. The prescribed burn was a 300-acre. K-Bonk says, was the government in charge of the burn? That's not liable. Basically, yes. This was Department of Natural Resources, or the Forestry Fire Department out there takes care of this stuff. So again, probably not liable exactly. The intended goal of the burn was to limit wildfire risk to the town of Banff, and reduce the number of pine and spruce trees, stimulate aspen and grass growth, and restore wildlife habitat. Despite the setback, Park said prescribed burns are an important aspect of wildfire mitigation. Now, where I grew up in Nova Scotia, it was very common to burn your dead grass in the spring. Very common. It was just something everybody did. But I also knew a couple of people whose houses burnt down because of it. You know, when you burn the grass, it comes back beautifully lush and green. On the prairies, that's not something anybody does out here because shit can go sideways super quick. So I understand, you know, these are the experts. They think they know what they're doing, and they decide that they're going to do a prescribed burn. And then the wind changes. I just think that, to me, the situation was so bad and so dry, and there were other fires going on. Why did they even think about it? I don't get it. These type of prescribed burns, where we already have resources in place, do reduce the risk of larger wildfires that can impact communities, said the park. You can imagine that if we had a wildfire that we were not anticipating, we did not have resources on hand in the numbers that we did, the result may have been quite different. So I will, Chris Dixon says experts, I will hand it to them that yes, you know, a fire, when you have the resources of a bunch of firefighters on hand to deal with it, is better than it happening when Mother Nature decides it wants to happen. I get it, but all right. So here is where the rest of the story comes in, and it is what it is. So I'm going to share it with you. A number of the firefighters working on the prescribed burn Wednesday were part of the Women in Fire Training Exchange program currently taking place in Banff. The park said the WTREX is a training program for experienced firefighters from across the globe, and called the team working the blaze the cream of the crop. They are all certified firefighters from around the world who have their certifications, so the training was not specifically for them to get certified to be firefighters. Regardless of whether the prescribed fire had a burn window during the training or not, we would have had resources here. So anyway, I want to bring up this just a second here, guys. Give me 1 second here. There we go. Okay, so here's the rest of this story. And I'm not shitting on anybody, but somebody might have a little chuckle at this. You might figure out what happened. But this article, this is where I first heard about this. Female firefighters' planned burn goes awry in Banff. A prescribed burn highlighted on the agenda of a women's firefighting conference held to promote diversity and inclusion in a male-dominated field didn't go as planned. Accidentally setting Banff National Park ablaze wasn't part of the plan. Well, okay, yeah, it was accidentally. Chris Dixon says they weren't qualified to do this burn at this time. Exactly. So the prescribed burn was carried out in the compound meadows adjacent to the Banff town site. K Bonk says, "Oh my God." This was the first ever Canada's first ever Women in Fire training exchange. It raged out of control Wednesday, forcing the temporary evacuation of horses from Banff. Anyway, interchanges were closed on the highway. 3 tack sheds went up in flames. 5 helicopters were brought in. By Saturday, it was updated as under control. The WTREX, that's the Women in Fire or whatever. Hunter said it's getting to be bad form. Which part's bad form? I'm not sure. Anyway, so this was I don't want to say an untrained group of firefighters, but there was a lot of new firefighters all in one place, all at once, and it turned into a fire that spread beyond belief. I thought this sounded really, really bad. Anyway, it ended up not damaging things as bad as it could have been, but it was one of those things. And, absolutely, Hunter. It absolutely is, male or female, it happens, because there's prescribed burns that happen all the time, all over the place. So it's an interesting scenario. So the reason I brought this up is, where do you draw the line on prescribed burns? Because they said they figured they had it all figured out. There was over 50 firefighters there, not just female firefighters, but they ended up deciding to go ahead with it. The wind changed, and then people lost their livelihoods because of it. So it sucks. I hate it. I don't know what else to do. Yeah, I don't know. So what do you guys think? To me, it kind of felt like it was one of those, like Chris says, a virtual signaling event that went wrong. I just think they probably should have held back and not had a prescribed burn. It could have been anywhere or it could have been anybody, but this is what happened and it sucks. So yeah, whenever you are in a bad firefighting conditions, I don't think prescribed burns are ever a good idea. We've been dealing with it all over the place. And yeah, so Chris Dixon says there are wildfires burning all over the place and they decided to go ahead with it. Totally stupid. That's exactly what I'm saying. Somebody somewhere made the decision to go ahead with the fire and it was a bad idea. So yeah, there it is. I don't know what else to do about it. I totally don't agree with them doing. I mean, I know prescribed burns are one of the things that have to happen, but I thought I would share that story and see what you guys thought of it. So yeah, beyond that, I really hope that we don't end up dealing with any more forest fire or wildfires. Things are greening up here now. I've been out mowing, but it needs to work its way out of. We just need some more greenery to come up. And as far as how far the water table's down here, it's still really low. We got a lot of rain, and it hasn't really brought things up even a bit. So K-Bonk says, who makes the call to postpone it? So I read a ton of articles on this exact thing. And Renegade says, we have a lot of prescribed burns here that aren't smart. Windy days, dry, it's dumb. We need them to not be California, but let's not be idiots. Exactly. So I'm not against prescribed burns at all. Not even a little bit. But it just seems like when everything was so bad this year, it may not have been the right move to make. And so here's the other thing. And the reason I kind of wanted to share that article was part of this training. And like I said, it really doesn't matter if it's male, female, or whatever, but part of this training was a prescribed burn. And they had a 12-day window that they had to do it. So I don't love the idea that they included that in this event simply because, you know, it kind of forces a person's hand and it changes the way you look at it, right? But yeah, because I think burning things at times are a good idea. And yeah, Chris Dixon says we're still 2 to 3 weeks out from snowpack melt making a difference to water levels. So, and K-Bonk, I'm not exactly sure who makes the call to postpone it. I seen something the other day. They were talking about getting your pilot's license. And when it came down, they said, what was it? 10% is learning how to fly and learning how to land. And 90% is knowing to keep your ass on the ground, even though you'd promised your friends to go flying when the weather looks like it could be shitty. And that's kind of what I'm getting at with this prescribed burn thing. Is it was planned, it was part of the curriculum. I still think they probably should have said, hey, let's wait and do it next year because, again, it got out of control. So there you go. That's what I got for you tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I really, really hope that we're not dealing with wildfires here in the next week or two because it's, yeah. Oh, I agree. Hunter says it's like going to a shooting class and not shooting anything, though. You know, that's part of it, but the difference between a shooting class and not shooting anything, yeah, obviously that's a good thing, but there's lots of other skills you could work on without necessarily having a prescribed burn in the middle of a forest fire. It's the same as if you have an off-road race planned and they decide, you know what, things are too dry, too much shit could happen, maybe we should postpone it, right? Because not taking the chance simply because I don't think so. It was from the 1st to the 12th, so there would have been lots of time that they could have still ran the prescribed burns. But again, that was only one fire. We end up having fires all over the place here, all across the train tracks. It's just one of those things. I don't know. Anyway, I thought I'd share it with you because this kind of, what do you want to call it? Controversial topics always seem to be the type of thing that people love to discuss. So yeah, I don't know. Whoever made the final call probably should at least look back and think, well, maybe we shouldn't have made that call, right? But again, hindsight is 2020. So guys, I'm going to go up and I'm going to enjoy the rest of the evening with my family. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I always enjoy putting together these Saturday night episodes. They're fun, they're enjoyable, they're kind of relaxing. And tomorrow night, guys, we got George Siegel coming on. It's going to be a great episode. I'm pretty excited because I love bringing in people from outside the community. It's one of those things that, it's always fun. I like, it's not nerve-wracking, but when you bring in somebody from outside that you haven't heard before or you've only heard a little bit about, it's always interesting to kind of say, I wonder, because I'm sure, let's just put it this way, I'm sure that when you bring people in from outside the community, sometimes they don't always agree with everything that we agree with. And that's cool because I like to be stretched. I like to be a little bit uncomfortable. And it'll be good. This guy is he's going to teach us some stuff about emergency preparedness in disasters and have some stories to share about some of the craziest weather scenarios that he has ended up being in. So with that, guys, I always appreciate you. I appreciate, you guys could be anywhere and you choose to come hang out with me on a Saturday night when the weather is probably really nice where you are and probably even nicer than where I am. So with that, guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.